Hello. After having a relaxing vacation in Oregon, I'm back. And today I had a question from a friend of mine about multiple Gmail accounts. And that's something that I think a lot of people are struggling with. And so I thought I'd do a little hangout here on the topic at hand. And so, as everybody knows, Gmail is a free service from Google, and anybody can get a Gmail account. Very simple. Just takes filling out a little form. Literally within a minute or so, you can have your own Gmail account for any topic, for any use you wish, and you can use it for business. You can use it for personal use, for anything you want, and you can have as many of these Gmail accounts as you want. The typical scenario when people set them up is the setup is simple and getting there and everything else. The problem is that people do it when they have a need. So I'm starting a new endeavor. Maybe it's a new business. Maybe it's just a new marketing program, whatever it might be. Great. I can sound that I need to worry about buying anything or anything. It's all free and it's wonderful, and people can send me email to this, and that's the typical scenario. The problem is that after a while, this concept of having one email account winds up with where you have a bunch of these Gmail accounts. And today I'm only going to talk about Gmail accounts, but essentially, you have people might have problems with more than just Gmail accounts. And recently, Gmail actually made some changes to easily add to mobile devices, for example, additional accounts from Yahoo, from Hotmail, other accounts as well. But we're not going to talk about that. Let's just concentrate on Gmail today. So first of all, even though I called it, called it Hangout, I don't remember what I called it. It doesn't really matter. Called it, something to do with Gmail accounts. I'm really going to talk about Google accounts in general, not just Gmail in particular, because a lot of people refer to Google accounts as Gmail accounts. They just kind of get used to it because initially you had Gmail, and then all these other services came along. You had Google Drive, you had Google Keep. There's all these different services that Google offers, but they're all kind of bundled under one umbrella with single login now, which is a Google account. And so when I'm talking about multiple Gmail accounts, I'm really talking about multiple Google accounts in many ways, because each one of those Gmail accounts actually is able to give you Drive and give you Keep and everything else. So we're really talking about Google accounts, not just Gmail accounts. But a lot of people refer to these accounts as Gmail accounts, so I thought, I'd call it the same way, just to make it easier for people, so they actually get the benefit, or you actually get the benefit that was intended. But it applies to any kind of Google account, not just for Gmail purposes, also for Keep, also for Drive, and for everything else you're using Google. So again, the challenge is that you got all these accounts set up, and at the point when you set it up, of course, you remember the username, you remember the password, all of it is nice and tidy. But as soon as you get done, if you don't use it all the time, it winds up being left somewhere. And then when you get back to it at some point in time to see if you can use it again, the problem is that you forgot what the potentially even the account email address was, and potentially what the password is. And of course, Google provides you with capability to go back and retrieve those if you need to. But it becomes more and more of a hassle. And the bottom line is it's really difficult to manage all these different accounts and track them somewhere, or have some piece of paper that has all your 15 accounts listed, things like that. So for this purpose, I think Google kind of struggled over the years to try to enable you to have a certain ability to get into anything you have easily. And what they came up with was ability to log in to Google Chrome using a single account, because most people have their kind of main account, and most people like myself, for example, I have an account which is my first name my last name at gmail.com. For those that don't know, the dot is totally optional. Email will work with one dot, with multiple dots. The dots in your Gmail account name are totally irrelevant to Google. I mean, they just look at it as one email address. So in my case, I always say my email is first name dot last name. But if I just have first name, last name at Gmail, it would work equally as well. It's just for aesthetic purposes. So if you didn't know that you can put dots in your email addresses and it will be the same exact address, now you know you can do that. Not a problem. You can even have multiple dots. Google doesn't really care. So in my case, like I said, it's first name dot last name. That's my main account. And so when you log into Chrome, as they call it, or sign into Chrome, actually they call it, then you're able to put in that main account, and then you start at that point as your starting point with just one single account. And then from there, you can add as many accounts as you wish. I don't know if there is a limit. To be honest with you, I just don't know. But in my case, I have, see what I have. I've got, so far, it looks like I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I got 11 accounts at 11 different addresses that I put in, and they're all there. In addition to that, when you do this multiple accounts thing, you can also, you don't have to use just a single domain, by the way. It doesn't have to be Gmail. You can also have your personal domain accounts that you're running through Google using their servers, and or using Google for Work. That's another, the new Google for Business, Google for Work, that gives you domain-specific Gmail accounts or Google accounts. That also works in this setup here that I'm going to show you in a minute here. So basically what you're doing, to make it simple, is you're logging in with a single Gmail account or Google account into Chrome. And then when you're logged in, then you can go and add as many additional accounts to that single sign-in as you want. And then you can easily jump between them. And if you set up the browser to remember your passwords and everything, you don't even have to put in passwords anymore. I mean, it'll automatically log in for you, and you have access to all of that. And that will be like different instances of Chrome. That's the easiest way to describe it. Think of it as running multiple instances of Chrome, each signing in with that particular account. Because normally, if you just simply open up tabs and you try to log in, log out, it becomes messy. Chrome, I should say, not Google, but doesn't know that you logged into Gmail using one account. Now you're trying to go to Google Drive, and you did the log out and log in using another account. You still have the Gmail open in the meantime in the first tab with the first account. It becomes very kind of confusing. So the best thing to do is use this other approach. Use this, what they call profiles approach. Okay? So let me show you. Let me just jump right into the screen share here so I can actually show you, because it'll be a lot more descriptive and a lot easier to understand what I'm talking about if you actually can see it. So you're looking at my desktop. Don't get scared. It's just a bunch of icons. And you're looking at this Chrome here. And up at the top corner, as you can see here on this window here, this Chrome window, I have this thing that says OLX Profile. So I set it up. I signed in with my main Google account initially, and I started out with nothing but that one login. And that's fine. If you want to have just one, you can. But if I click on it, then it shows me my profile picture from Google+, shows me my email address right here, so you can see which account you're logging into. And then it has an ability here that says switch person. And if I click on this switch person, then it'll open up a window that shows me, and I'll make it bigger here so you can see all the accounts. There's all these accounts right there that I can log into. There's all different personas. And by the way, they don't necessarily have to be my accounts, like my son's account right here on the top left, since he sometimes logs into my equipment. He's got his profile there as well, so he can just log in right to his account and do his own thing, which is pretty handy. So this particular ability allows me to jump to any account I wish by simply clicking on it. So if I wanted to jump to, let's say, Hangout School, I simply click on Hangout School, and it opens up a whole new window, which I'll bring into view here. And as you can see, it's got multiple tabs. In this particular instance, I had it set up so it's these tabs. So as you can see, it opens automatically all the tabs I wanted open from last time. And so all of them are still here. And it, of course, loads all of them. So in this case, I have YouTube. Here I have a presentation for class I did for kids using Hangout School. Here is my Google Drive. But as you can see, all of that is for account. Just make it a little bit wider here. It's for this Hangout School account. It's not my Oleg Moskalansky at Gmail. It's my Hangout School at gmail.com account. Okay? And it's its own separate Chrome instance here with multiple tabs running as that particular entity. And all I had to do, again, was simply click on this Oleg's profile in my main setup, click switch person, and then just select whichever one I wanted to. So in this particular case, I wanted Hangout School, so I clicked on that. It opens up its own thing, and now I can operate totally as that particular person with its tabs and everything else. So it makes it very simple to jump. So this would be an example, as you can see, that I can jump to this here. I can also have another account that I have set up for, let's say, one of my clients, which is domain account in Idaho, the resort called Hearthstone. If you ever want to have a nice vacation in McCall, Idaho, definitely recommend you check them out. Where's Hearthstone? Let's see here. Let's make it a little bigger. It doesn't show. Sometimes it doesn't show all the icons if the window is not big enough. So you just want to make sure it's big enough. Either maximize it or make it a little bit bigger. So Hearthstone is right there. So see, it says Hearthstone right here. So if I click on it, it's going to open up, as you imagine, another window. And it's going to have whatever tabs I had last time. In my case here, I had the settings. And just to show you that it's a different account, if I go to Google Keep, notice it's signing me on to oleg@hearthstonemccall.com. It already has my password because I enabled the, so it remembers the password. So I just do a sign in. And there I am in Keep for that particular entity, that particular email account, Gmail account. But notice that my other window is still open here. And if I jump here into Keep, by simply using a little keep icon right here, let's just go to my to-do list on Keep. As you can see, it'll bring up a completely different list of keep notes compared to this one here, because logged in here, I'm logged in as oleg@hearthstonemccall.com, and here I'm logged in as me, as my main profile. So Keep obviously pulls up whichever account I'm in. So that makes it very handy to just jump into multiple accounts. One thing I want to caution you is you cannot do this on Chromebooks, unfortunately. I wish you could, but you can't. And of course, you cannot do this on mobile devices either. Mobile setup for multiple users works totally different, where you don't have this profile capability. You can easily jump between accounts on tablets and on phones by just clicking on the top left corner and selecting a different account from there. And then you go right to, if you're in Gmail, it will show you Gmail for that account, that account. So you just keep switching to whichever account you want by clicking on the little icons that show up. So it's simple enough to do, but you don't have this ability to have multiple accounts open at the same time like you can on desktops. Unfortunately, I wish Chromebook would work the same way since it's so similar to desktop, but it doesn't. You cannot do this in Chromebook either. You have to log into one at a time. So the least functional is actually Chromebook in terms of this multiple account situation. Phones are much easier in tablets because, you know, just one click and it's switched. So it's pretty quick. And in Chromebook, you actually have to log off and log back in. So it's a little bit more time and hassle to do it in Chromebook. But on the desktop, it's the easiest. You just, you know, select as many of these as you want. And so if I have two of them open, keep in mind that I can go back to this Oleg profile, click on switch, and we'll open one more just to show you. We'll open Emerson K-12, my son's. As you can see, that will show you the different things in different windows on the same at the same time here. So here's my main one. Here's this one, and we'll jump right into Gmail here so you can see it too. And here, as you can see, it's logging me onto this account, and over here, it's logging me onto a total different account. You will see it shortly as soon as it loads. And right there. So you can see different colors. If I just show you all three of these in Gmail, you can see all of them are loaded at the same time, but they're all three different accounts, and I can operate in all of them at any time like in any other windows, all at the same time. Okay, so I'm going to close these other two for now, and just first thing I wanted to do is just to show you that you can jump into multiple entities at the same time, multiple accounts, I should say. and do whatever you're going to do. And they open up a totally separate Chrome windows, totally unrelated to each other. So it's very slick, very convenient on desktops. So how do you do something like this? The easiest and best way to do it is just to add an account to this setup, to this profile, as soon as you establish it. So if you go and set up a new Google account, you still have your email address and your password fresh on your mind, go and add it immediately to this thing. And one of the easiest way to add this is to simply do it through settings. There's a couple of ways to do it. But if you go to settings in Chrome, you'll notice that in the main tab that comes up basically on Chrome, the first tab I should say, there's an area called People. If you scroll down, you can say it says People. And this is the easiest way to manage all these profiles and at the same time to add new ones. So all I have to do is click on this Add Person, and then I'm able to choose a picture for this particular account, whatever that might be. I'm able to type in the name, whatever I want to use for account name. I can create even a desktop shortcut to jump back into this user anytime from the desktop by double-clicking on an icon. And there is another setting here. It says control and view the websites this person visits, which is something you do for domains. You wouldn't do it for your own deal. But so typically, you just, if you want to create a shortcut, you just check this. Otherwise, you check it off, put in whatever name you want here, select the icon you want, and away you go. Also, if it happens to be an account that has Google Plus profile, then you will see a picture from that profile, and you can select that picture to be the picture for this person. So I'm not going to add this because I don't have anything, but that's as simple as that to add a new person. And then this person winds up being listed here, or this account, I should say, listed here in this list of people. And you just keep adding as many people as you want. One thing I wanted to caution you is that one of the things you cannot do is make changes to it from a different account. So right now you can see this OLX profile is bold and it says it's current. If I click on any other name, it'll let me click on it. But the only thing I'm able to do is add a person or remove a person. I cannot edit that particular entry. Okay, and that's important. In a minute, I'll show you why that's important. So the only person I can actually edit is the one that's current profile. So you'll need to log into whatever one of these accounts you want to change in terms of their picture or other capabilities. And then you'll be able to edit it. Right now, if I click on this, then I can click on edit and I can go in and change the picture itself. And as you can see, it's because of my Google Plus profile. I have my photo from the profile as one of the icons, and that's what I use. I can change the name to be whatever I want it to be. And notice I also have this ability to click on Add Shortcut to the desktop. So all I have to do is just click and it'll add shortcut to my desktop, and I can jump into this specific user or this specific account by just double-clicking on the desktop. So it's very convenient, very handy to do that. But remember, like I said, you might think that you click on it and you click on edit, that is not available. It's because it's not the current user. So if I wanted to change this Hearthstone, for example, here, the only way to do it is to actually go into flip to it. So let's do that right now. So I click on OLX profile, switch person, and then I select my Hearthstone account. And then when I select my Hearthstone account, it jumps in there. As you can see, loads OLX Hearthstone.com. And then when I'm here, I go back to Chrome settings from within this particular incarnation. And now I can go ahead and click on current. And now I have option to edit. And now I can change, let's say, the icon. I'll just use my profile icon for that. It's fine. And then Hearthstone, I could also change the name here to say OLX because I have multiple Hearthstones. So if you have multiple accounts that have the same name, I'd recommend putting some different name to it so you can differentiate which one is which. Because when you're looking at the display of accounts, if I click on OLX profile here and open it, as you can see here, it's impossible to tell from just the name what it is. And the only way you can tell which email address it is by clicking on the little pull down in the top right corner of each icon. It'll show you what user this is, what email address it's using, what Google account it is, in other words. And at this point, you can also remove this person from this list here. You're not removing Gmail itself, the Gmail account or Google account. You're just removing this particular person from this login capability. That's all, from this list, in other words. So this is, as you can see, you can tell by just clicking up at the top right corner here. The only problem is it's a tedious process. I mean, because you're sitting and clicking, trying to get to email. So not something I'd recommend. What I'd recommend is you put some sort of identifier in the name, whatever you want it to be, to make it so you know what it is. So in my case, I have a login for concierge from the Hearthstone McCall, and I have login for Oleg and Hearthstone McCall. And so by just having these two called Hearthstone, but having this little parentheses thing, I can easily tell which one is which. And again, if I wanted to change this particular here name, I have to go back to settings. Well, first I have to log in as that account. So I have to log in as that account, switch person, and go to this particular account here. Once it logs into that account, and also another thing I wanted to mention is that each account, of course, when you log in from the profile like this, you have its own complete Chrome setup with its own bookmarks. I mean, everything dealing with the way Google sets things up on Chrome. Each entity has its own bookmarks, its own setup. You can have it start up with certain tabs, and it's really nice how when you switch accounts, everything can be set up to be exactly the way you want it to be. So in my case here, I just wanted to go back to settings, and I wanted to change says account is out of date. Let's see if it lets me change it without signing in. So if I go back to here and I go and say edit it, yeah, so now I can just change Hearthstone concierge and save it, and that's it. Then I can close it, so I'm done. And now if I go back to my profile and switch person, you can see that it's been updated. Now it says Hearthstone Concierge, and this one says Hearthstone Oleg. So I have exact differentiation I wanted to have and know exactly which account it is. So I definitely recommend you make these descriptions be meaningful. You can use email addresses if you want, if that's meaningful to you, or you can put in whatever name you want. As you can see in my case, I don't have any email addresses practically anymore. I just have the descriptions of what they are. And if you do have Google Plus account for that particular, if you have Google Plus set up for that particular Google account, then you can use the actual icon from that particular account. So as you can see, there's multiple incarnations of me with different profile pictures from different Google Plus accounts. So you can do that. One thing I wanted to also show you is that one of the things that's more convenient about this setup is that in addition to being able to switch to accounts or start the accounts by clicking on the profile button there, one of the really handy features is ability to go incognito. Because typically if you want to go incognito, you have to right click on the that's one way to do it, but all of these ways are more complicated than this one. So you right click on here and you select new incognito window, and then go starts up incognito window. But if you get used to using this for switching to different accounts and pulling them up, it makes it even simpler. You just click on the button, click on go incognito, and it starts up a new incognito window. And for those that don't know, incognito window is a window that doesn't have any of the information typically associated with you. Like the other windows, when you log into Google, it remembers a bunch of stuff about you. There's cookies that are being kept, which is some information about what you've done, where you've been, from different websites. There is information profile about your login, everything else. The incognito window allows you to be completely invisible, basically, to whatever websites are trying to figure out who you are. If you're going through this incognito window, that means they have no clue who you are. They cannot look at any cookies. I mean, the cookies will be gone, basically. And there's not going to be any information about you that anybody can pull from. So if you want to go incognito, meaning so people don't know who you are and what you're doing and the history of websites you've been to, things like that, then this is the mode you want to be using. But as you can see here, if I try to go to Gmail, for example, it won't know what kind of account I'm trying to use. So it'll tell me to log in because it has no idea who I am. Okay. whereby if I close my Gmail tab here, so it's not open, and if I try to get back into it, to type in Gmail, you will notice that in this particular non-incognito version, it knows exactly who I am for that particular account, logs me right in, doesn't ask me to log in. Okay, so incognito is useful if you want to be invisible to others when you're surfing websites and things like that. Okay, so another feature of this particular functionality that's really useful is instead of clicking on the button and then clicking on switch person and then not seeing potentially all the accounts you have, because you may have a lot more than this, you have to make it bigger. Too many clicks. I mean, there's too many things you need to do, and it takes too long to do it. The easier way to get right into a particular account is to simply right-click on the button. Instead of left-clicking on it, to right-click on it. So when you right-click on it, it's kind of like a shortcut. It then shows you a miniature version of all the icons and all the names of the same accounts. And so all you have to do is left-click now. After you right-click on it, you left-click on the option you want, and you let go, and it opens it right up. So that's the quickest way to operate in this particular, using this functionality. You can see it's a totally different account here. And I'll close that, but that's the easiest way to jump into it. So you can, and of course you can open multiple accounts. I can open this one, I can right click and open, another one. I'll just restore whatever it was. And so as you can see, I have these multiple accounts open at the same time. Go to Gmail. There we go. Okay. So you can see I got these three things open. I can have all of them open. I just wanted to show you that you can do it easily by just right-clicking. So that's a very nice, very quick shortcut to simply right-click on the button right there, select the account you want, click on it, and it opens it right up. And then you go from there. So that's basically the kind of basic functionality and basic use of this multi, where you stick them all in there using settings. And one more thing I wanted to show you is what you can also do is you can allow people to browse as guests. That gives them limited capabilities, but at least they can use, they don't get into your email or anything like that. And that's one other options they have as part of it, is allowing somebody to browse as a guest. And that's something you can turn on or off in settings. And so this way you can set up people with, based on either regular Gmail accounts or domain-based Gmail accounts, as many as you wish, and you can easily open as many as you wish, provided you have enough memory to open all these profiles, all these accounts, and you're able to then work within them as much as you need to work, whichever ones you want to use at any time, together, separately, however you wish. And this allows you to also track, because the Chrome will not track this automatically for you. In other words, if you don't add people or accounts to this particular profile setup, nobody's going to do it for you. That means that if you set up 15 Gmail accounts at different points in time, if they're not all in here, then if you forget them, then they're just dormant until at some point in time, maybe Google will decide to do a cleanup, and they will see that if you have some accounts that haven't been used for whatever amount of time, then they'll probably notify you that they're going to be getting rid of them unless you do something. I mean, I'm not sure if they're going to do it or not. A lot of companies do that kind of stuff. And that will be the end of it. But the idea here is to make it functional and make it useful. I recommend that you definitely set up as many accounts as you need, whether it's for a marketing program, or it's for a whole new business, whether it's for personal use, kids use, whatever it might be. But just add them to this people settings in Chrome. So you always log in with a single account, and then if you go to settings people, you will see that you have all these other accounts that you've ever added available to you at any point in time, and that way you don't lose anything. So think of this settings for people as your storage place for all your Google accounts. And that works wonderfully. Now, in terms of people actually using multiple accounts, this is how you get to them and how you don't forget it, and you're able to work with it. That's great. But in terms of actually using multiple Gmail accounts, that creates another issue. And I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but I want to cover it a little bit. And it has to do with the fact that you typically have a single place where you check for your email. In other words, most people do not like to be switching accounts and going, okay, now I'm going to check this account, then I'm going to check this account. And I mean, if you got 10 accounts, it gets really, really old really fast to check one at a time, all 10 accounts. So the solution to this multiple account problem with checking everything is to have everything come to a single place. And, you know, people tell me, well, I set up these 5 accounts. I mean, how can I go to a single place? There's multiple ways to do it. One way to do it is to set up forwarding. So you can set up forwarding under settings for Google Gmail. If I go to settings here, you will see that there is a tab here called forwarding and pop/IMAP. And so you can see right here, there's an option called forwarding, and you can click on learn more to get more information. If you click on forwarding address, it's going to ask you, you know, the email address. Then it's going to ask you to verify that from that point, from that address, that it's okay to forward. And then you actually need to go ahead and initiate it, because by default, the forwarding is off even after you set it up. So you want to turn it on. And then at that point, anytime emails come into this particular account, they'll be forwarded to this other account you indicated. So that's one way you can set it up. So when you have multiple accounts, they'll all be forwarded. All these emails will be forwarded to this main account that you use. So I recommend you use one single account as your main hub, if you will, where everything is going to come. That way you don't have to be checking multiple places. You just do this one-time setup, and then all these other accounts you have will be forwarded to this particular account. Okay? Another thing you can do is you can also set up the similar functionality with forwarding through a filter. And it tells you right there on the next line, it says tip, you can also forward only some of your mail by creating a filter. And filters allow you to set up a criteria for, you can say something like, if I get email with the subject line being such and such, then I want it forwarded to a particular email address. And I want it, you know, one thing I would recommend is you set up a label for that particular email using the email address itself be the label name. And that's what I usually do. That way, when you get a bunch of emails from different places, you can see where they were sent. And there's also a way to configure Gmail to say that whenever you're replying to an email, you want to use a different address than your main one. And you can set up the replying address to be the same as the address it came to. So in other words, you can be actually playing multiple roles where nobody will know that you're actually playing these multiple roles by setting up the replies to go that they come from a different email address than you're actually getting email at normally. And so feel free to contact me if you want more information on how to do it, because it's kind of beyond what I wanted to talk about today. But the idea is that you can set up forwarding so you have multiple other accounts that you don't normally check, funnel everything directly into your main account that you do check all the time. And that, of course, takes care of this forwarding. Also will wind up being synced on your mobile devices, so all your emails and everything will be there. If you set it up using filters, so the actual labels get applied, then it makes it even nicer, because you can actually see and easily segregate emails that come from different email addresses. So that's one way you can do it. Another thing you can do is you can also, in addition to forwarding this way and that way, another thing you can do is you can fetch email. And the way you fetch email is by going to the accounts and import setting in Gmail settings. And then here it says import mail and contacts, and you can import from Yahoo, Hotmail, AOL, and other webmail or POP3 accounts. So this is where you put in additional accounts that you want to grab the email from. So instead of forwarding, which is kind of like a push service, you can also say import, meaning kind of fetch or pull service, where it'll pull email at certain intervals and get that email into this account here. And at that point, you could set up filters in this account to say, whenever I get email from this and this particular email address, then label it a certain way and then show it with that label. So you can easily have things automatically mark your email so you know where it came from if that's important to you, and you can have all the email coming into the same place. And as you can see in my case, I have all these different ways how I send mail out. So I can send mail as this email address or this email address, so on and so forth. So there's a couple, like I said, multiple ways, a couple different ways how you can set up your email to be coming in to a single place from multiple accounts. And I highly recommend that you do that to keep your sanity, because otherwise it just becomes way too difficult to keep track of, where you need to go to check different emails, different places. But the important thing I want to stress here is you need to do this at the time when you set up these accounts. In other words, do not set up an account and then go, well, I'll set up the forwarding or something some other day. This other day never comes. I mean, it'll come, but you'll forget it. And then the account winds up being somewhere in limbo. It's not set up as part of the people in settings. And next thing you know, you're not getting email. And, somebody says, didn't we set up an email account for this? You have no idea. I mean, I have no idea. Unless this takes place in terms of actually putting into people in settings and setting up forwarding, it's gone. There's too many things going on all the time. So definitely set it up as soon as you set up a new account. Immediately set it up to forward to your main account if you care about getting the stuff, and also set it up to be in settings for people, so you can easily jump to it at any point in time. If you need to operate directly from that account, you can do both. Because some accounts you don't want to forward, you just want to jump in there and operate on them whenever you feel like it. So that's basically all I wanted to discuss about the various Gmail accounts or Google accounts that you can easily store within your Chrome settings as people, and then easily jump between them and utilize them, and at the same time, different times, whatever your preferences are. Again, wanted to emphasize that this only works on desktops. The setup for Chromebooks is different. It looks the same, but you can only sign out and sign into one account at a time. So you cannot have multiple things open like I had on the desktop here. And also on the mobile devices, also you can't do the same thing like I showed you here. Even though you can have multiple entities, multiple accounts edit, you can just easily switch between them in different apps, but you're not going to have the single environment like you see here. With that said, you're welcome to grab me on Google Plus anytime if you have any questions. I'll be happy to answer them. And hopefully this helps out people who have multiple accounts and want to keep their sanity. Until next time, thank you.